white rhetoric needs to come to an end. I have had enough. I've had enough. I made a video earlier about my son getting a notification on his EA Sports Madden game talking about Black Lives Matter and oppression of black people, which is an opinion by some. It's not verifiable, unequivocal facts, but yet they push it on young people. And then one of my good friends who happened to be white, and the funny thing is we have the same last name, we go on rides together, and he showed me on the app, the Strava app, that you just upload your rides to. Everybody have a good time. You like people's stuff. If you see their rides, they're impressive. Pro riders are on there. Everybody's having a good time. Why on God's green earth do they feel they need to give an advisory about how they've been a racist organization all this time? And that black people need to special treatment, and you need to give us handouts, and worried about black athletes. Listen, man, as a black man in America, and I've been black for 33 years, I am sick of the pandering. I'm sick of the false equivalence. I'm sick of people painting the picture like I am less than in my own country. This country belongs to me just like anybody else. I have never experienced racism in America. I haven't. That doesn't mean that other people haven't. But I don't have to walk around with my head down, walking around acting like a victim when I haven't had nothing to do with that. And none of the people that I know are racist. I don't know a racist. I've never been around racists. Why do I have to be subject to idea that people are forcing on me just because of the color of my skin? It makes no sense to me. And then I have a lot of friends who are white. It's not fair that I can have a say and I can talk about my opinions about the American flag. I can give my statements about Black Lives Matter and how ridiculous I believe their organization is. This is America. You have the freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want to say. Why is it that my white friends don't have that same right? If you say all lives matter, which is true, that includes black lives, ladies and gentlemen, you get fired. They fired a guy who's a commentator, fired him because he said all lives matter in a text message. You are not going to accomplish the goal that you want if you are doing it with hatred and vitriol. If you are doing it with the idea that you're going to force people to kneel and bow down to you for sins of their ancestors. I don't understand how we've gotten to this point in the United States of America. How are we letting people do our country like this? They claim that they're protesting the death of one black man who happened to be an extreme criminal. Does that mean he deserved to die? No, it doesn't. The police officer need to be taken to task as well. But he wasn't a Martin Luther King. He wasn't Jesus Christ. He wasn't many black people that have lost their lives that didn't get arrested and sent to jail 9 times, that didn't do a home invasion where they pulled a gun on a pregnant woman and pistol whipped her, that wasn't high on methamphetamine and fentanyl and resisting arrest at the time of his death. There was plenty black people who live, who are unjustifiably killed, and they don't even get a t-shirt. They don't get coverage. They don't get a t-shirt. Y'all giving this dude 3 funerals, live broadcasting on television. What for what? And to defend his life in his honor, quote unquote, y'all done killed 9 black people in these riots and protests. You have destroyed millions of dollars worth of property that black people own in this protest. A black retired captain on the police department, 38 years of service, serving his community, serving the black community, serving the police community, has a tremendous reputation. He dies. Y'all don't even talk about him on the news, except Fox News. And then who killed him? It wasn't a police officer. It wasn't the white man. It was another brother who ain't even 30 yet. Done murdered the man. And that brother should have been in prison for a long time because he did an armed robbery. Instead of him doing 7 years in prison, they let him out on probation, which he violated twice. A career criminal killed a good black man, and y'all MIA. Chicago, Illinois, the war zone of the United States of America. Last weekend, 80 plus shootings. 25 black people died. 2 of those black people that I know of, because they ain't gonna never say their names, they don't get no recognition. Just so happened they mentioned two of them, two 18-year-old girls who were aspiring college students. Could have probably made a difference in the community. Oh, they dead now. Because people don't know how to handle their anger. They out here shooting people and acting a fool, and nobody's holding them accountable. And I don't know if will they catch the people who did this? Are they going to get justice? Probably not. 83% of the homicides are unsolved in Chicago, Illinois. That's one part of one city and one state in the United States of America. And y'all talking about police brutality. Let me give you more stats. In 2019, there was only 9 unarmed black people who were shot by police in 2019. Guess how many were shot in Minneapolis or Minnesota as a state? 1. And just because you're unarmed don't mean you're not a deadly threat. So just for the sake of argument, just say all of them were wrongfully shot. There's 44 million black people in this country. In 2019, 9 of them were shot by police. 7,000 or so of them were killed by other black people. And in the tunes of hundreds of thousands have died from heart disease and other ailments that y'all won't even bring up, and you claim you care about black lives. Let's give you more stats. Chicago, Illinois. Last year, in 2019, 192 black people were murdered. How many black people were murdered by police in Chicago in 2019? And I'm counting the people who are unarmed. Because if you got a gun, I don't know what to tell you. Nobody was killed by the police in 2019 in Chicago who were unarmed. Not one black person. 2020, there is already 191 people, black people, that have been murdered this year in Chicago. And they're on pace to double the murder rate from last year. How many police officers have killed a black man in Chicago, Illinois this year, unarmed? 0. How? Your outrage is not justified. It's not justified at this point. Y'all need to cut it out. All of you social media influencers putting little boxes, media organizations coming out with their little statements, that is not doing anything for black people in America. It's not doing anything. Let me give you solutions. The solution is you need to stop voting for politicians who put in policies that destroy your community. All of these cities that are riddled with crime, riddled with mass death, mass incarceration, police misconduct, are Democratic-run states, Democratic-run cities. Chicago, Illinois, St. Louis, Missouri, Baltimore, Maryland. And some of these places are run by all black people. The worst places on earth to be a black man is in Democratic-run cities. If you don't believe me, go look it up. Go look it up for yourself. You need to stop voting for people who don't have your best interests at heart. They put on kente cloths and they going around in African garb appropriating culture, and they've been in office for 40 years and ain't done nothing for you. Name something that Nancy Pelosi's done except take a knee for 9 minutes in a hallway for one black man. Name legislation. Pick one. Nothing. They have done nothing. Nothing. Stop voting for these fools. Second of all, which is most important, I should have made it number 1, you need to hold yourself accountable. Nobody told you to sleep around and not protect yourself. Now you got a kid and you ain't got no job. And now you didn't put yourself at a deficit. Ain't nobody told you to do that. The white man didn't have his hand on your back, pushing you when you smashing and dashing. That was all you, bro. And now you got a kid, you need to make sure you take care of your responsibilities. And I can't leave women out of this. You knew he wasn't nothing when you met him. You knew he'd been in and out of prison his whole time, and now you done had a baby with him thinking he's gonna do something different. Now you a single mom. And I'm not talking about every single mom situation is that way, but you know who you are. But you blaming everybody else. Nobody told you to smoke weed. Nobody told you to disobey your mom and your grandmama when they were telling you to get an education when you were in school. That's on you. I don't care if they put a bag of crack rock and gave me money and people to sell it to. They dropped it in my front door. I'm not gonna sell no drugs to my own people. I'm not selling drugs to my own people. I'd rather be homeless than sell drugs and make money off the backs and death of my own people. And my own people is everybody in America, including black people. That's simple. It's mathematics. When you go around and you're projecting racism on other people, that's why you live a miserable life. That's why every time you see a white person, you're questioning whether or not they're mad at you or not. You don't know what's in these people's head, and you shouldn't even be concerned about that. You should be concerned about succeeding, concerned about how you gonna dominate. And I'm telling you that as a black man in America, the reason why I'm winning is because I'm not sitting around worried about white people. I'm not sitting around trying to guess who is racist and who is not. I don't care. And the racist people in this country are going to end up working for me at some point, because you're going to stay at the bottom and I'm going to be at the top. And people are not taking accountability. Build your community. All these football players out here, black oppression of black and brown bodies, y'all taking a knee, doing all this stuff. Won't y'all put y'all money together and have a black-owned bank? How about every football player in Oakland come together and share your money in a pool and buy your property and invest in Oakland, California, San Francisco? Why don't y'all put your money together in Chicago? But y'all not gonna do that because you want to buy a Bentley and then you want to get mad at the system. How about you pass down generational wealth to your family members? Hey, go take that gold chain back because it looked cool. Take it back because it's not generating any wealth for you. How about you save your money over time? It's a shame that 80% of NFL football players go bankrupt. Over 80%. And over 80% of football players are black. Why is that? Riddle me this. It's culture. It's culture. If this country was so racist, then why do African immigrants do much better than black Africans who live here, or African Americans who were born and raised in the United States of America? It's culture, ladies and gentlemen. One of the greatest minorities in the United States of America are Asians. Why are they doing better than white people? It's culture, ladies and gentlemen. While you worried about LeBron James and how many three-pointers he's shooting, other people are worried about how to make money and build businesses and build economic wealth. Y'all can't tell me anything about the stock market. You can't tell me anything about investing. You can't tell me the last book you read. But you can tell me who's in the Final Four. You can tell me who's going to the Super Bowl. You can tell me the stats of every NBA player, NFL player, and MLB player. But you don't even know where you're going in life. Y'all got all the LeBron James jerseys and Kobe Bryant jerseys, and y'all at the games, and you got season tickets, and you ain't did no investing in your future. But you want to blame somebody else. Take responsibility for your own actions. Take responsibility for your own life. And white liberals the same way. Stop coming out here virtue signaling. I don't need you to tell me who I am and what my experiences are in America. Everybody, we're individuals. We're not a collective. Just because one black person experienced oppression don't mean every black person does. We're individuals, and we should be treated as such. Just because one black person commit a crime don't mean we all criminals. Just because one police officer does a bad thing doesn't mean that all police officers are bad. You got to operate on individuality. You are individually responsible for your future. It's very simple. And I give you all these facts and you ain't got to pay me for it. Free 99. Take it, share it to somebody else. I'm tired of it, man. This country was founded on good principles, in good faith. And some of y'all don't even know the history of this country, and I have to go into it on another video. This country wasn't founded on racism. Slavery was all over the world. It was opportunistic. It was legal. Slave trade. You know how slaves came about? They were enslaved in Africa first. So if you want your reparations, go to Africa and talk to Bungundu and them and ask them why they put you in chains and sold you to the white people, and the people in South America and people in Asia sold you all over the world for profit. And you mad at white people exclusively as if they came up with racism or came up with slavery. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, black people own slaves too in this country. Are you mad at them? Are they sellouts, Uncle Tom Coons? They own slaves too. The first legal slave owner was a black man, Anthony Johnson, in the 1600s. First legal slave owner. Are you mad at him? Do you want reparations from those black people? Every black person wasn't a slave. Very simple. There were indentured servants in the North. Slavery in the North was illegal. Legal slavery was in the democratic South. the Democratic Party. Learn your history. We have built this country together. We have overcome adversity of barbaric principles that we now look back on and criticize. We're in the freest place on earth. All of us work together. There ain't no laws against black people. There ain't no law in the book that applies to black people and white people differently. Matter of fact, if you discriminate against somebody criminally, that's a hate crime. It's against the law. We need to stop all this stuff, man. We need to come together. We need to start focusing on individuality. We need to try to better our country in the ways that we can. And for all you cowards out there that don't want to do nothing together and you want to just sit on the sideline and bash everybody and talk about white privilege, just stay on the sideline, man. And for the rest of the people in America, let's build together, let's grow together, and let's make this country better than it was yesterday.